I'm back. Okay, break over. So while I was at Gainesville Health and Fitness, I don't want to say I moved up through their hierarchical structure because I went different ways. I was more interested in they had just started personal training and physical therapy. A couple of maybe a year or two before. Mark Mink was one of the ones who was one of the managers there, and another guy, Ashley. I cannot remember his last name, but I came to Gainesville Health and Fitness at the end of Ashley's management reign, um, kind of at the beginning of, at the middle of Mark Mink's and beginning of Jan Makozich. So that will give you an idea of my timeline in Gainesville Health and Fitness. I started working in the physical therapy, and I don't think it was officially called Request at that time. I don't remember what it was called. Um, but I worked with Charlie Baird. He was my boss. Well, he was my manager. I don't know, not sure who exactly my boss was, but I learned a lot about physical therapy, and um, I was one of the first groups to be certified in. Um, it may have. I don't think I was the first group. May maybe probably not. Certified in medics therapy procedures. I wrote about those in one of the Super Slow Exercise Guild things, and I pretty much stand behind most of those observations still. I need to look over it again to just be positive about that, but from what I remember, I stand behind those still. Um, Medics, Arthur Jones, Joe Cerulli, Gainesville the Fitness, University of Florida, very tied together, very cohesive and um, cooperative structure. So it was really nice to be there at that time and learning all the things I learned. While I was still working on the main floor or as a instructor, and I'll go more into details, great details about that in another episode. That's going to be important. I did personal training also there, or what we would call personal training now, but back then the term personal training did not yet exist. Personal training back then was for people in Hollywood who helped actors prepare for roles, prepare for sports events. Didn't have to do with exercise like that. It was a preparation thing. We called it one-on-one training. One instructor, one client. Um, and even that's a clunky term still. But the term when I started, personal training was not yet a term. That's how old it was. We followed Nautilus principles very tightly. I mean, really tightly. During that time, and I will go into this in detail eventually, I also had the opportunity, honor, and I guess interesting is how to say it. I trained River Phoenix before River lived in RJ is what we call him. RJ lived in Gainesville, Florida. His band, he played in a band there. His family was from that area. We were preparing him for a movie called. It was about a young soldier getting ready to go into the Vietnam War, and he was challenged with sleeping with the ugliest girl. I forget the name of the movie. Dog Soldier, something. Anyway, I'll look it up and put it in. Maybe somebody can put it in the comments. Um, and I'll tell more about that experience and the successes and failures of it, and what happened there. From there, let's see. I'm gonna have my notes. Oh, around this time, towards the end of my time at Gainesville Health and Fitness, I started writing what I called the Gainesville Health and Fitness personal training manual, what's now known as the generic health and fitness personal training manual. Um, I wrote this mostly to solidify my thoughts about exercise instruction, about teaching people exercise, and about how to deliver it consistently. It turned out to be quite well received by people. I don't think Gainesville Health and Fitness ever used it as an official manual. I think most of their trainers kind of started going more separate, different ideas. Some of them used it, some of them didn't. From my understanding, some people really, really took to the manual. Excuse me. I eventually released that manual as a Creative Commons open-ended. In other words, you can put your name on it and give it out to your employees. Released it that way. I didn't really have any interest in making money on it or using it. Wanted it to improve exercise and exercise instruction. I've been looking over it, and oh my God, the writing was horrible. My nonfiction writing is 10th grade level at best. I hate to say that. My fiction writing is a lot better. I'm a much better. I'm much better with writing dialogue, with create story formula. My nonfiction is horrible. So sorry if you have that book. My apologies. I hope the information got through to you through the bad writing. Let's see, where are we now? Okay, during my time at at Gainesville Health and Fitness, working in physical therapy, I grew to learn the importance of posture. And posture eventually became, here we go again, posture eventually became a very, very important point in my center focus of fitness. So I'll go more into that in another time, and you guys can probably you guys have in the HIT community have probably already taken that off more than I ever could. But posture, the importance of it, health benefits. I still to this day, that's one of the main reasons to do exercise, to do fitness, to do activity. Improve posture, you're going to improve your health, you're going to improve how you feel, again, later on. At a certain point in working at Gainesville and Fitness, I got the super slow exercise manual, the original blue one, nice cover from Ken Hutchins, and I probably read that thing. This is really sore stand. I'm just getting dizzy. I probably read that thing 20, 30 times the first week. I probably lost sleep, and other people around me got it. I loaned mine out to other people, and some people had illegal copies, and I said at least send Ken money for those if you're going to make them. But that book was a turning point, and I think the Super Slow exercise manual was a turning point for many people in the HIT community. The level of thought, the level of thinking about exercise was so far ahead in the HIT community and in the exercise community in general, was so far ahead. It had surpassed light years. And in some ways, there's some things in retrospect now I don't want to say taken too far, taken maybe in a wrong direction. I'm not sure how to explain it, but there's some things that need to be looked at differently or looked at again, and get into those in the future. With Gainesville and Fitness, I had become kind of working in all different departments. I even had a couple of times where I cleaned the pool and the what's it called? hot tub. um, they had a steam room. I did not clean that one well. I forgot what I did. I messed up. But something happened and I messed up on that one. But I did a little bit of everything at there. And I was not interested in management. I pretty much already knew that not interested in management, partially because I was probably not good at it. My thinking is too all over the place to be an effective manager. It's not something I want to do or wanted to do back then. So I contacted Ken, and he invited me to come down. And I still remember all of that, going to meet him and that first day. And one of the significant phrases that I remember that kind of solidified our relationship and understanding. And he was like, "And why do you think people exercise?" Ken said, "Why do you think people exercise? They want to get laid." And he was like, "You're right. That's right." Um, uh, Exercise. People want to be healthy, and now we can go into this in the detail more. Um, you could see many videos on this concept subject and why uh, continuation of the species is pretty much the dominant motivation in any activity. So I'll leave that one be. But it kind of concreted our thinking in parallel, and we really took to it. I would go back and forth from Gainesville to Orlando, or it's actually Maitland, part of Orlando, and see Ken frequently, and take some friends to meet Ken, and eventually I made the decision to move there. That I wanted to work under Ken Hutchins. I talked to Jim Randall, who owns Lincoln Health and Fitness Center, and he's like, yeah, great. His daughter had worked at Gainesville Health and Fitness, Kelly, I forget her last name, um, and she worked with Lincoln Health and Fitness, and got the job, and I felt like the sorcerer's apprentice. I was in hit heaven, easiest way to say it. It was I probably looked like a um, I don't want to use a Jedi Jedi Padawan or anything like that. I was probably more like a blacksmith apprentice. I was probably closer to something like that where I'm watching intensely and observing everything. And even while I'm training people, and I kind of regret this part, my focus and attention would be slightly off watching and listening to Ken so that I could pick up on some of these training instruction techniques. And he was always improving that and modifying. So for, I think about 2 years, I worked with Ken, worked under him. During that time, he created the linear spinal flexion machine and the super slow exercise guild. And I remember going to his storage facility. He had one of storage facilities, and had a storage place and a workroom, and little workshop, drill press, bandsaw, and I would go over to his storage facility with him while he worked on the machine, and just listen to him talk and talk with him and watch everything he did. And I felt like it was one of the guys who was probably originally starting at Nautilus in that exploratory time. It was, again, a sorcerer's apprentice. I was loving it. That was the best way I can describe it. Um, Around then, I met a guy named Doug Spratt. He was working at Disney's Yacht and Beach Club then in their fitness place. And he had helped them acquire the Nautilus equipment for that facility. Doug had been with Disney for a while, and he was also a high intensity enthusiast, knew Darden, knew Ken, and Ken introduced me to him. And we hit it off very well, hung out quite frequently. And Doug eventually left Disney and started um, body coach personal training in Cocoa Beach. I think some people who are around Doug and around body coach can um, uh, confirm or fix my remembering of the sequence of events. But I'm not sure where he came up with the name, or if he came up with it or another guy. I know a guy named Mike Wood or Mark Wood, Mike Wood, I think, came up with a logo. Excellent logo. As far as artistic ability, I thought it was excellent. Um, Still, I can picture it very well to this day. And I took on the mantle of body coach 2, the second person. I wasn't actually the second um, instructor. He had uh, Doug had others instructor in Cocoa Beach. And I worked with Doug a little bit in Cocoa Beach off and on. And then he opened up in Windermere. And I was going through divorce at the time. And Doug offered, why don't you come and work and live here? And back then, the body coach was a small space. I'm not sure about how around here. Small space, and in the back was like a efficiency apartment, and I slept on top of the closets. And we we made a really good. He made. I'm going to say he. It was his money, his stuff, but I had some suggestions. Uh, he made a really good high intensity training facility. Had at one point 22 machines in a really small area. We made do. We made really good workouts. We had really good ideas. We tried some different things and go into that in a little bit. It's almost all MedX. It's a combination of MedX and Nautilus, mostly MedX, and I think there was a couple of Eagle Cybex pieces. Um, I really enjoyed that atmosphere, and that was really the first time I walked in worked in a strength studio. Lincoln Fitness Center was a combination strength studio fitness center for a office complex. And Ken's first attempt, I think, well, second attempt at considering the osteoporosis project, second attempt at having a more clinical environment. But because it was open for some people to train on their own, it's less clinical and awkward. Whereas at Body Coach, it was purely one-on-one training. There was no one else there. We could control the environment as best we could. We learned a lot of things. There was a lot of interesting conversations, observations, different things we tried. And so around that time, 2 years, I think 2 years there, I went back up to Gainesville. And the culture that Gainesville and Fitness had moved to a different facility, to the new, I think one of the main one they have now. Culture was a little different, and I did just the personal training. I didn't do floor. I um, uh, didn't do the physical therapy. My certification for physical therapy technician had lapsed, and I just really wasn't interested in renewing it. The laws in Florida had changed to where you could not, you pretty much only, before when I was doing physical therapy work, there were anywhere from 12 to 24 sessions. When I went back up to Gainesville, it was pretty much 3 or 4. It was useless. I just I did not see. And then this was because of laws, because of insurance regulations, not physical therapy. So I didn't want any part of that. Some people had better things. Some people paid out of pocket, but I was very dissatisfied with this is not going to be effective. And retrospect, it's still problems. The best thing that came out of being at Body Coach was seeing that some training worked well and some training did not. And Doug and I started questioning. And Doug and I always stayed in contact at that time. We started questioning what about this? What about this? And then we'll talk. I'll do another video on this. Let's try this. Let's try this. And we started experimenting and trying different things. And I'd gone back up to Gainesville and was working and still, going through all kind of other things in personal life. And at a certain point, I can't remember where I got it. I got a little booklet called The Scientific Method. And it was one from one of my stepkids at the time. My kids that they gone to I don't remember if it was the museum at University of Florida or something, but it was a little pamphlet. And so I started looking up more and more about the scientific method, and I realized we had veered off. We had veered off scientifically, and the rhetoric I was hearing from the hit community was sounding more and more evangelical instead of scientific. So that's where I'm going to stop my hit experience. Um, that I don't want to say that ended my hit experience, but that's when it started to veer off. In the next video, I'm going to go over the things specifically that happened that made me question my convictions and tell you about that experience. I hope some of you get some enjoyment out of hearing this. Hopefully it's memorable, nostalgic for some people. And I hope to hear some from some people during that time, especially some of my friends in the Super Slow Exercise Guild and at Gainesville Fitness. I hope to hear from people this time. It was a fun time, and I want to say I miss it. I'm glad it was part of my life. I'm glad I learned from it, and I miss some things. Yeah. Hope to hear from some of you. Thanks.